Another milestone in the history of plant biotechnology was the discovery of plant growth substances. To know that there are some materials or some substances that will help a plant to grow, and we can artificially induce such materials within a plant or in a culture plate in order to have our desired transgenic plant. So let's see a history about this. Charles Darwin. We all know the scientist who have given the theory of evolution. Darwin also has some impact in the discovery or in the experimental proof of finding out that plants can be artificially grow within a culture media by applying some specific substances. So let's see. Charles Darwin in 1880 was one of the first to observe that and describe the curvature of seedlings towards light. He first observed and described that seedlings grow towards the sunlight. That means seedlings can grow on the direction of light. He discovered that this effect could be prevented by covering the tip of the coleoptile. What is coleoptile? Well, it's a protecting sheath of the apical shoot meristem. In our third or fourth chapter, while we are discussing about plant morphogenesis or plant anatomy, then we can have an idea about such sheath. It's a protecting layer in the shoot meristem. It's called the coleoptile. So if we cover the tip of the coleoptile, then we can prevent the seedling to grow towards light. It will grow naturally but did not move toward the sunlight or light illumination. Another scientist, Boysen-Jensen, in 1910 found that the complete removal of the tip abolished the effect of light and pointed the possibility of a material substance. So regarding this effect of sunlight on plant growth, what he did, this scientist totally removed the tip and later find out that the effect of light was not significant or not found there. That means the plant still growing but without any effect of light. That means there are some other substances that is helping the plant to grow towards upward, to grow longer. So regarding these material substances, later investigation were proceeded. Another scientist, Frits at Leiden in the Netherlands, successfully isolated and quantified the amount of material substance. These scientists finally isolated and quantified the amount of material substance which he called Wusthof. The English name of Wusthof is hormone. That means these scientists first isolated plant hormones and quantified them and coined the most important phrase in plant biotechnology, which is without hormone, no growth. Later on, the hormone he identified or isolated in a plant cell was totally similar with the hormone that were found in the urine of a pregnant woman. Look at this. This might sound a bit bizarre, but you know that for plant growth, people are using fertilizer or urea. And urea consists of such constituents similar to the urine or uric acid materials. So the hormone later to be identified as the naturally occurring auxin, indole 3-acetic acid, was first isolated in crystalline form from the urine of a pregnant woman. So these are the history. Overall, we can say that first Charles Darwin found that how plant can grow easily. What are the effects? He found that seedlings can grow towards, or the direction of seedling growing towards the sunlight or light. He discovered that this sunlight or the effect of sunlight was mostly on the tip of the coleoptile. Then he covered it and finally showed that if we covered it, the effect of sunlight can be easily removed. Another scientist, Boysen-Jensen, totally removed the tip and claimed that there are some other material substances that help a plant to grow rather than sunlight or other than sunlight. Finally, Fritz discovered that these are some material substances and that they are called hormone and claimed that without hormone there will be no growth. And interestingly, these hormones were he isolated and quantified was totally similar with two hormones which are auxin and indole 3-acetic acid found in crystalline form from the urine of a pregnant woman. In addition to auxin, the other naturally occurring plant growth substances that have had a profound impact on the culture of isolated plant cells are the cytokinins discovered by Skoog and Miller. That means there are plenty of growth regulatory hormone, but at that time only auxin and indole 3-acetic acid were known to all. Later on, they discovered cytokinin, which have a profound impact in the growth of culture of isolated plant cells. Soon after the discovery of the cytokinins, Skoog and Miller made another significant contribution. That means they carry out their investigation regarding plant growth hormone and their effect towards plant growth from a isolated plant culture. They demonstrating the hormonal or auxin and cytokinin regulation of morphogenesis in plant. They find out the specific regulation or the specific function of auxin and cytokinin that act towards the morphogenesis of plants, which allowed the controlled formation of shoot or root in culture callus tissue. Through knowing the function of auxin and cytokinin on regulation of plant morphogenesis, whether or which hormone will help to grow the shoot or which hormone will help to grow the root, they have obtained the controlling power to culture the callus within a petri dish or within a laboratory. That means they allowed the controlled formation of shoots or roots in cultured callus tissue and is rightly considered an important milestone in understanding plant morphogenesis and in micropropagation. This might be a newer word to you, micropropagation. The definition is written here. And regeneration of plants from cultured tissue. So what is micropropagation? It is the artificial process of producing plants vegetatively. That means producing plants from another organ or cells of another organ through tissue culture or cell culture techniques. In this artificial process, propagation plants are produced in vitro by asexual means of reproduction or by vegetative propagation. That means micropropagation is basically the production of plant from an organ without having sexual intercourses or sexual reproduction. Somatic embryogenesis. The word embryogenesis implies the genesis of embryo, that means embryo formation. So what is somatic? Somatic embryogenesis. It is an artificial process in which a plant or embryo, specifically embryo, is derived from a single somatic cell. From somatic cell means these are not germ cells or that type of cells. These are somatic cells containing autosomes and they do not possess any reproductive characteristics. So from a somatic cells, a plant or embryo can be derived. Somatic embryos are formed from plant cells that are not normally involved in the development of embryos. So it's a huge achievement. That means the cells, somatic cells that were directly not related in embryogenesis or embryo formation can be easily manipulated or forced to form or develop an embryo. That means from an ordinary plant tissue we can get an embryo, and through this embryo we can have another plant. So no endosperm or seed coat is formed around a somatic embryo. Naturally we will see that in a plant seed or in a plant embryo there are different types of organs such as seed coat, endosperm, haploid nucleus, several types of organs. But in these somatic embryo there will be no endosperm or seed coat. That means it is a very clear and easy to handle product. Haviland in 1902 in his famous publication had predicted the cultivation of artificial embryo, today's somatic embryo, from vegetative cell. That means he then published in his article that artificial embryo is cultivable from vegetative cells. Vegetative cells are also called somatic cells. Experimental production of somatic embryos was first attained by Jacob Reinert in callus and by Frederick in cell suspension cultures of carrot root tissue. So these are two information. One is experimental production of somatic embryos was first attained by Jacob in callus. That means from callus or callus culture, this scientist produced embryo, and another scientist produced carrot root tissue from cell suspension culture. That means plant science were growing in a rapid way in that moment. We can see from 1880 to 1902 or 1910, there are so many discoveries established, and that were the basic discoveries. That means through that discoveries, now we can have our latest or modern plant biotechnology. Genetic transformation, a very easy concept. Like so many scientific discoveries and inventions, genetic transformation was discovered by chance. That means it was not meant to be discovered. However, they discovered that gene can be transformed or genetic material can be transferred or uptaken by another organism. By the scientist or medical officer Frederick Griffith. He was trying to develop a vaccine for prevention of pneumonia during the time of Spanish flu pandemic. Now we are experiencing or seeing another pandemic after almost 100 years in 1980, from 1918 to 1920. Almost 50 million or more people were dying due to this Spanish flu. It was the most severe pandemic after Black Death or plague. And after exactly 100 years in 2019 or 2020, we are seeing the pandemic of SARS-CoV-2, which is kind of flu but not exactly carried by a influenza virus. It is carried by another virus and having the symptoms similar like flu. However, he was trying to find out some vaccine for this Spanish flu and was working with Streptococcus pneumoniae. However, during that experiment, he found out that transformation experiment or transformation procedures were valid and can occur or can be achieved artificially. Results of his experiment clarified that DNA can be transferred to another organism or plant or even animal with an acquisition of the trait of the transferred DNA causing the recipient to transform. Transformation means uptake of foreign DNA and express its phenotype. So we have seen that transformation occur when organism uptake of foreign DNA, and this is a natural phenomena. However, this phenomena can be mimicked in order to achieve some laboratory purpose. That means this can be artificially or synthetically conducted. Through this, what we have to do, we have to or they had to find out specific approaches or method in order to deliver the desired or expected gene portion within the recipient organism or donor plant or animal. So what are the methods of DNA transfer or DNA injecting? The following three methods are widely used for the introduction of foreign genes into plant. Indirect or vector-based gene transfer, such as Agrobacterium tumefaciens. Remember, it was the most revolutionary achievement when they found that through Agrobacterium tumefaciens mediated transformation, a very normal and fertile plant can be generated. Three groups were working on it and all three have similar types of results. That means it is an established and authentic procedure. So this is the first method. Through these bacteria, Agrobacterium tumefaciens, which is a plant disease causing bacteria, and they cause disease by injecting their genetic material into the plant cell. And the theme of these delivering nucleic acids have been obtained or have been modified by scientists in order to deliver the desired gene through this bacteria or using this bacteria as a vector. Second method is direct DNA delivery into protoplast by osmotic or electric shock. This is very simple. Like they have to put DNA directly into the protoplast of the cell either by osmotic or by electric shock. Third one is direct DNA delivery into intact cell or tissues by high velocity bombardment or of DNA coated microprojectiles. This is called particle bombardment, and this is now the most widely used method for delivering DNA into another plant. Here the DNA is directly delivered into the intact cell, not only protoplast or intact tissue, and the method is particle bombardment. It's like using a gene gun, shooting off a gene using a gun towards the recipient cell. So we will see all three methods sequentially in the next portion.